Hi everybody, it's Christina. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am into painting furniture and repurposing stuff that I already have around the house or stuff that you can get on the cheap versus buying new. And today I'm going to be doing a tutorial that's going to be perfect for beginners. We're going to be working with Sloan chalk paint as well as General Finishes Java Gel and just doing a really easy beginner's guide to doing over a side table. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you do that before you leave here. If you like what you see, please give me a thumbs up or leave a comment in the section and let's get started. Okay, today I'm going to be redoing this little side table. I actually got this from my neighbor. She had purchased both of these, I think, through Craigslist or something, didn't need the second one, and everybody knows they can always offer me free furniture. You definitely don't want your first project to be something you really care about, whether it's your kitchen table or maybe it's like your grandmother's dining set. You want to play around with stuff first, figure out how to use these products, really get your techniques down, and then tackle a big project like that. So an end table, a side table, even if it's a dresser, if it's something that you get for free that you find on the side of the road or that you get for $5 at Goodwill, those are like the best type of things to start out with. So today we're going to be doing really easy beginner techniques, no distressing, I know, which is like very rare for me. I just want to help you get your feet wet and just not have a lot of steps today. I am going to do a two-tone finish. I'm going to do Java Gel on the top, and then we're going to use Sloan chalk paint on the apron and the legs of the side table. I will put links to all the products I use today in the description box, so go check that out if you're interested in purchasing anything. Those are all affiliate links through Amazon, so if you do purchase anything through those links, I will get a small commission. I really do appreciate it because that helps me keep my channel running. It helps me keep the blog running, so thank you again for your support. Okay, I think I've given you all the info, so I'm going to grab all my stuff and zoom you in and we will get started on this tutorial. So the first thing you want to grab is your nitrile gloves. These are reusable, but I also use disposable ones a lot. Then you're going to grab your odorless mineral spirits and pour it in a little bowl and either have a sponge with a scratchy surface or a Scotch pad. And you're just going to rub this down over the entire top where you're going to stain. You're not stripping the surface here, we're just cleaning it down to get all the dirt and grime off to help with the adhesion of the stain. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is grab some 220 sanding paper and put that on a sanding block, and we're going to rough up the surface of this top. Again, we're not stripping off the finish that's on the top here, we're just roughing up the top to give the stain something to stick to. If you have any big gouges or water stains on your tabletop, you'll want to put a little extra love into those spots, maybe even go down a little bit on your sandpaper and really smooth those areas out before you stain. And when you're finished with sanding, just grab a tack cloth and wipe up all that dust before we grab our stain. All right, we're ready to start staining the top. So I've grabbed my General Finishes Gel Stain in Java. This is the darkest color that they have. I've used this before on my Banister tutorial, so I'll link that above if you want to check that out. I am going to be using a different technique with this today. We're going to just be painting it on full strength and not wiping it off at all. This is an oil-based stain and it is really concentrated in pigment, so you want to give it a big stir just so you mix up everything appropriately. And then we're just going to start painting this on with a foam brush. These are really affordable. You can pick them up at the hardware store for under $1, and it is what General Finishes uses in all their videos, so that's what I'm using today. So as you're applying this, just make sure that you're going with the grain and you're getting a good amount of stain on there. Don't make it too thick, and don't worry if some of that wood is poking through because this is our first coat and we will cover up everything on our second or third coat. Okay, so I'm going to speed up the process for you here. Just a quick tip, keep a wet edge as you work in sections, and as you're going, do one swoop from the bottom to the top to just clear out those brush strokes. So here's a close-up of what it looks like after your first coat. As you can see, you can still see some of that honey oak color coming through, so don't worry about that if you see that. And here's a shot of it dry. You do want to let this dry for 48 hours before you put your second coat on. You can tell if an oil-based finish is dry, if it's no longer tacky, cool to the touch, and if you can press a cotton ball over the surface and nothing sticks. When in doubt, wait longer. You don't have to sand in between coats, so we're just going to go ahead and apply the second coat just exactly the same way we applied the first. And please make sure that you're reading all the safety information that's on your can. You want to dry this stuff out after you're done working with it outside. It is flammable, so please follow all the instructions on the can. So here's what your coverage will look like after the second coat. For our top coat, you're going to want to wait 72 hours for it to dry. Since we are putting a water-based coating on top of an oil stain, it needs to be completely dry, so wait 72 hours. And our top coat is the General Finishes High Performance Flat. I just really love the finish of this because it doesn't give a super shiny finish. Before you get started, wipe down your top with a tack cloth just to get any dust off that may have accumulated while it's drying. So go ahead and give this a quick stir. I do use a foam applicator to put this on. If you want, you can use a brush. I just prefer using the applicator. I find it easier and they're really cheap. For application of this top coat, we're going to put it on really similarly to the way we put the stain on. You just want to do a thin layer, keep a wet edge as you're working across. Again, I do that stroke all the way from the bottom to the top just to get a clean stroke. Do a small section and then move on, and don't go back and rework an area that you've already put on. And for time's sake, let's speed this up again. And here's a quick tip on this finish. You can actually put this in a Ziploc bag and save it and keep reusing it till you're done with the project. A dry time for that top coat is 2 to 4 hours. So while it's curing, we are going to go ahead and start painting the apron with our Annie Sloan chalk paint in Old White. First, we need to prep the piece, and while we're doing that, I'm going to just flip my chalk paint upside down and just set it down right beside the piece. We're going to grab some hot water and just a little dish soap and a sponge and wipe down the portion that we are going to paint. Don't underestimate this step. Look how dirty it is. So go back over with just a wet, clean sponge and wipe off any of that soap residue, and then you're going to let this dry. And while it's drying, we can go ahead and tape off any areas that we don't want the paint getting on. So I'm just taping underneath the tabletop. And go ahead and take any of your drawers out and remove your hardware. Okay, we're ready to start painting. So I have grabbed my Natural Bristle Purdy Sash brush. It's one of my favorite brushes to paint with. It's been well loved. So grab any kind of container for your paint to go in. I have this glass jar because I can put a lid on it and close it up and save it for later. Pour your paint in there, grab a spray bottle with some water, put about 5 squirts in there, and then you're going to stir that up just to just thin it out a little bit. Grab your spray bottle again and give your paintbrush a little spritz, and then we're going to start painting on. Because we are going for a smooth finish and not a distressed look, I want you to paint with the grain, making smooth strokes, and keep spraying that paintbrush with that water bottle. If your paint thickens up on you, it's just going to help it keep it nice and smooth and kind of get rid of some of those brush marks. So again, work in small sections, and once you're finished with that section, do that long stroke from one end all the way to the other just to smooth out those brush strokes. Watch out for drip marks. You're going to want to clean those up as you're going along just so you don't have to go back and sand them later. And here I am painting the drawer front, and I'm just speeding this up into double time just to move it along. But again, you see I'm using the same technique going with the grain, and at the end I'm going to smooth everything out from side to side. The dry time for this paint is about 1 to 2 hours, so we're going to hop back and put the second coat of High Performance Top Coat on our tabletop. So I am grabbing some super fine steel wool just to sand a little bit in between coats. You can also use a really broken in 220 sanding pad or 400 sandpaper. I just prefer using the steel wool because I feel like it doesn't break down my stain at all. So I'm just going to take this and lightly buff the surface. As you can see, it's kind of dusting up a little bit. We're not taking off finish, we're just roughing it up a little bit to give the second coat something to stick to. The process for putting on the top coat is exactly the same as we did it the first time, so follow all those steps. And again, once this is completely dried, again for another 2 to 4 hours, you can go ahead and put that third coat on. General Finishes recommends doing 3 coats minimum. You can add more if you want to based on wear of your piece. And before you add that third coat, don't forget to rough it up with that steel wool a little bit, clean off your dust with your tack cloth, and then add that third coat. And now back to painting our apron. We're going to grab our chalk paint again, put it in our container. This time you're going to thin it out just a little bit more than the first coat. Probably do about 10 to 15 sprays with your water bottle. Stir that up. So this is the consistency you're going for, a little bit thinner than that first coat. We're going to spray down our brush and then just paint this on the same way we did the first coat, going in the direction of the grain and really smoothing out those brush strokes. Now once the chalk paint is dry, you're going to want to seal that, and today we're going to be using the General Finishes High Performance Flat. I just did a video comparing this with using Annie Sloan wax in clear, so I'm going to link that up above if you want to check that out. I thought this would be easier just to do the same process you're used to doing on the tabletop instead of using the wax today. And it will give you a little bit more of a durable finish. So this is the exact same process that we used on the tabletop. You just want to be a little bit more careful and use a really thin layer again, because when you're working on a vertical surface like this, it will tend to drip and run on you. So you definitely want to use a thin amount of product, watch for those drip marks, and really smooth those out. When you go to sand in between coats here, I'm going to recommend you using the 220 sanding pad, or if it's brand new, a 400 sanding pad versus the steel wool, just because of the shedding factor with the white. One more thing I want to show you guys, you will get these little tiny hairs, especially when you're working with white. You're not in a static free environment. Please don't freak out about these. Take a step back from your piece. You're not going to be able to see them. No one's ever going to notice them. You have to let your inner perfectionist go. So again, you're going to do 3 coats just like we did on the top. I am replacing my hardware today, so I had a little funky piece of hardware, so I'm actually drilling some extra holes to put on a little cup pull that I found at the hardware store. Sometimes a new piece of hardware can really make a big difference, and I'm a sucker for a cup pull. We are finally done. Here is the before, and here is what we look like now completed. And just for a little bit of fun, I styled it up for you. I hope you guys liked this beginner's tutorial. I hope you can try it out. Let me know how it goes for you. Send me your before and afters. I love seeing those. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave. Turn on those notifications, and I will see you guys next time.